August the 16th, 2020 was the day I had my advanced motorcycle test, and it was a culmination of various different ways I felt I'd been tested through the year. 2020 has been a tough year for so many people, and I had the classic stressful life events: unstable housing, unstable employment, unstable relationships, and I was part of the health service effort to address coronavirus. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to find things I could control and I could manage, and I came up with 3 challenges. I wanted to learn to be better on my bike, make a game and link that to the bike, and also learn how to vlog and again link that to the bike. 3 challenges that would be reinforcing, but I think it just gave me an additional load of pressure. So this day, 16th of August, was kind of the culmination of part of it. This was the advanced bike test, and I felt I had a lot of pressure on myself and other people expecting me to do well. And I came and I'd looked at this route. This was a complicated road system. There's a little country road off to the left, there's a junction over to the right, and I felt I wanted to demonstrate that I could do it. So I was looking here for a gap I could move into safely, and I knew that I could. I'd read the night before the books, and it talked about being prepared to stop but moving out efficiently wherever you can, and I really had that pressure on myself to demonstrate what I could do. And some of the ride went really well. The kind of initial bit, I've got good road position, I'm using the limit points, but I really was feeling I had to demonstrate this, and it was trying to meet someone else's standard rather than really doing it for myself. The country roads were very good though, the limit points here were going well, but I had too much pressure on myself, and there were so many things really kind of beyond my control, and I didn't pass. I had some things where the moment stuff went beyond my control, or I came across a situation and I handled it badly. I just it made it go wrong. But let's have a look at some turns. This is a right-hand turn, looking both ways, it's clear, and I move out, and I'm in a good position for where I want to be. So having a breakdown of that, I'm approaching this junction. It's not one that I'm familiar with. I have a look, it's a T-junction, and I'm trying to really look smooth. I should angle the bike at the junction, and I do a bit. I should be prepared to stop. I don't. I want to be unhesitating, and I move out. I've got good slow control here, and at the time I thought I was actually too slow, but I think that was actually a good way of dealing with it. Coming up now to another example. This is now a left turn. Approaching this junction, it's 40 miles an hour. I should be prepared to stop. The bike is over to the left, but I pull out, and I'm really probably too wide. I'm out to the centre line and having to bring it back. That's an indication that I was really rushing and pushing, having to make a correction where had I gone a bit slower, I wouldn't have needed to do it. But I was really pushing myself. I'm splitting the hazards here, using the limit point on this bend, transitioning over to position 1, getting good view around the bend, watching out for the unsteady surfaces, thinking about safety, then stability, then vision. This is pretty good. Transition over to position 3, out around the bend, keeping good visibility as I come around, noting I've got a bend here, so a left-hand bend, out to position 3. I could stay out wider to position 3. I've come in a bit onto position 2, and I may not have needed to, but that's relatively okay. But again, feeling I want to demonstrate here, I'm coming up to a blind crest, so I go over in position 1 into a bend, over to position 3, there's people there, moving over, splitting the hazards. This is now quite a wide bend, and I had seen this one before and practiced this one before. I know that there's a loose surface here. I'm going pretty steady, but I want to show that I can do the speed limit where appropriate, and I was really pushing myself over in position 1 for this blind crest. I've got a tight bend here coming up on the left in a 40 mile an hour section. I can see through the fence and I can make it round clearly. Coming up here to this bit of road, there's a left and then a right as it goes uphill at 40 miles an hour. This is okay. This is probably a pass, but it goes wrong at this point, and this is a right-hand turn that I kind of remembered, and I've kind of gone back and been to this place. It's national speed limit. It's up a very steep hill. There's a sharp turn. I looked, is it clear? And I mess it up at this point. That is too, I don't know. I tried to turn and I wasn't quick enough. The car behind had to slow. That's a fail. So let's go through this again. I'm approaching this junction. There's a car oncoming. That's fine. Splitting the hazard. This is fine. I'm getting closer, and I can see there's a national speed limit sign on this road, but it's a steep hill. It's a turn to the right that's probably slightly more than 90 degrees. I pull over now into position 1 so I can angle the bike, but I don't really stick to it. At this point I start to drift. I should have stayed over in position 1, because what I end up doing is bringing my bike parallel to the centre line rather than at an angle, because this is a more than 90 degree bend. I look down the road, and then this is my first look at the oncoming car, and I pull out, and I shouldn't have pulled out, but I did, and I then didn't use enough speed to come out. I didn't turn sharply enough, and I came out right the way across the road when I didn't need to. So that's unsafe. It meant the car behind had to slow. That's a fail. And I was flustered, and I knew that I'd failed, and it was in my mind. Here I am, I've kind of really let myself down, and I come up to a junction. I can see the car is overtaking a bike. There's another car, it's waiting. Okay, I can now see everything. It's clear on the other side of the road. I can pass. It's okay, it's not ideal, and I didn't really pull out wide for the cyclist where I could have done. So that's not a good overtake. It's not well thought through. I'm pushing myself to do it. And again, I was still flustered as I come up to this car here, thinking again, I need to kind of demonstrate what I can do, but you know, I've messed up, and I had that racing around in my head, and I knew there was an overtake here. I look ahead, as I come around this bend, I can see that it's clear. I'm doing about 50 miles an hour, it's 10 mile an hour speed limit, and I start to see the other cars in front. They're overtaking a cyclist. I'm not going to get past in time, and they've got more things happening. I pull back in. Everyone's having to deal with this. It's a messy situation. I haven't helped, and I could have held back. So that was a mess, and at that point I'd kind of given up. So I relaxed into the ride after that, and I think it went much better. The country roads are good. I'm in position 3 using the limit point here as I come around. It tightens up. I slow into a blind crest here, and I can see there's a hazard in the road, and I slow well in advance. I'm not in a rush. I don't really care at this point what the examiner thinks or doesn't think. I'm just going to treat this safely. I'm going to keep myself moving while I can, because I have more control over the bike if I have a little bit of movement. So a good bit of slow control here. 3 miles an hour according to the speedo. And off we go. All dealt with. No pressure to come past. Clear thinking. Not feeling I need to overtake this car. But it's not a perfect ride. So coming past here, past these people, giving them a certain amount of room, splitting the hazards, that's all fine. But this junction here, left-hand bend, I think this is done fine, but again, it's not ideal, and it shows that I was still pushing myself in a way. So I'm approaching this junction here, and I should really tuck in now to position 1 on the left, and try and stay tight as I come around in case there's a big vehicle coming. I check nothing that way. I've got enough room, but I target fixate a bit on the bike, and I pull out wide, and I'm right by the centre line when I don't need to be. I could have been much closer to position 2, and in fact I had to correct slightly to come back to position 2. So 2 things that were a significant fail, and my reflection is really that I'd spent a year putting a lot of pressure on myself. So all those kind of external pressures really had an impact on my ability to learn other things and to be able to relax, and that was really important. And that's my kind of takeaway, I think, from having looked at this. The being on the bike is meant to be fun. These challenges I set myself, they're meant to be themes, they're meant to be things I can learn, they're meant to be enjoyable, fun things. They're not important things. And all of this is about learning from my mistakes, and partly that's also thinking about how I go about and how I cope with things. So for 2021, I've got the same themes, but they are themes. These are things that I can have fun with.